I said, hey, yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Mojados, and we back for another video. Hope you guys are doing well. Today, we're going to be talking everything Constellation Network. DAG is the name of the game today, and we're going to be talking about what is Constellation Network background, funding, collaboration, tokenomics, staking, what is a layer 0, and some TA. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Mo Hodles. What I do is a lot of technical analysis, and now I've been tying in more research. Been in this market for about 5 years, and I have a blog. You guys can go check that out in the bio. The link is in the description to go and see about many different, assets that I've written about and some introductory blogs if you guys are interested in that. But without further ado, let's jump right into what is DAG. So basically, Constellation Network is something that popped up on my radar because a lot of my friends have been talking about it. And, when I kind of saw it initially, it was kind of too high, right? Because, it was like maybe 40 cents or like 35 cents. And I was like, I kind of liked it at that time, but I thought it was kind of, overpriced at that time. And right now the market is pulling back. We'll get into the TA side, but I wanted to dig in, do my own research because I don't like to buy stuff without understanding what it is, without understanding the tokenomics and really getting my hands delved into the project so that I'm not blindsided by anything funny, right? And of course, you always want to do your due diligence because you don't ever want to be in a situation where, you just like screwed over, right? You want to understand the risks at least before investing. So first things first, what is Constellation Network? The Constellation Network is a layer 0 that enables people, organizations, or developers to build applications with zero fees. You read that right, feeless transactions. The blockchain is a decentralized, secure, and interoperable with other networks that wish to create a democratized network. The Constellation Network utilizes a distributed ledger technology known as DAG, which stands for Directed Acyclic Graph. Today, most blockchains have a vertical scaling solutions, but Constellation Network utilizes a horizontal scaling solution per the image below, which creates a more decentralized network as it grows. And the more nodes there are on the network, the more connectivity, which creates a less centralized network, takes away the single point of failure in some instances. So as you guys can see here, very, very simple. And I want to make this clear. DAG is not something that came up as new, right? Other blockchains have previously implemented this technology. One of them is actually something called IOTA, if you guys don't know what that is. It's another ticker that's been in the market since 2017. But in short, IOTA uses a DAG as well, and I really do like it, right? I mean, technically, just because somebody else uses it doesn't mean that Constellation cannot take this technology and make it better, right? I mean, at the end of the day, all this stuff is open source technology, and the teams are different, and so their goals are also different, right? When we look at proof of stake blockchains and proof of work blockchains, you have some that are good for payments, and you have some that are good for building on. Some are great for X, Y, and Z. And blockchains have multiple use cases, and a DAG has benefits as well. And the main thing that sticks out from understanding a DAG is that right now, if you were to throw a ball into one of these nodes or miners or whatever you want to identify them as, that there's multiple connections across it. So even if one side of it gets broken apart, the network will come back together. Like, it will basically keep everything in a loop without messing up. But if you were to take off this middle chain here in this blockchain, right, in the bottom picture, what would happen is that the communication will get lost. Some type of halt or something would happen because these things are like basically vertical, right? And that's the advantage of a DAG because it's horizontal, creating multiple levels up and down essentially, and making it more secure. So I kind of went on a little rant there about a DAG. And previously, I wasn't too aware of DAGs, but I do like the idea of that concept. So I think that's pretty cool. And so some background on the Constellation Network. Constellation Network Inc. is a project based out of San Francisco and was founded by 4 different people in 2017. The founders all have experience from previous technology roles as they used to work for companies like Oracle, Universal Studios, NASA, Signal Labs, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Frudenberg, and the European Central Bank. The founders created Constellation Network because they saw a purpose of a decentralized and scalable blockchain. The DAG protocol relies on a consensus known as proof of reputable observation. So we're just going to label that as Pro. Pro is a consensus that relies on a community by using machine learning aspects to balance complex topology with a performance approach to validator rewards. In essence, honest participants and validation of data are rewarded. So there's a staking element. And of course, I can talk about the Pro consensus in like another 5 minutes, but I don't want to go too much into it. I'm just trying to give you guys an idea that the founders wanted a blockchain that is, you know, scalable, but as it gets more scaled, it doesn't have any drawbacks, right? Like right now with Bitcoin, you know, the more and more adoption it gets, the more and more miners there are, the more and more network usage. What's happening is the transaction times increase, sending fees increase, and the power of energy to secure the blockchain becomes more expensive. But that's not the case with DAG, because DAG is feeless. DAG grows more actually and becomes more safer the more people who mine on it, and it's a better consensus. So, you know, that's kind of the main idea, is that, you know, they wanted to get a decentralized chain that continues to grow as it, you know, expands. So let's talk about some funding and collaboration for the Constellation network. Constellation Labs held a token sale in June 2018, raising a total of $33.7 million according to ICO drops, which may be found here. And then outside the token sale value, no venture capitalists, hedge funds, or institutions have reported investing in the company or token, right? You know, I couldn't really find any reputable sources. If I am wrong, then please share below, leave a comment so that we can see it, and then maybe I can, you know, edit this. But essentially, I could not find something that kind of confirmed that, you know, there was VCs. I know that Masari.io, which is a data, you know, company as well, they had DAG and they had listed some VC capital firms that invested in DAG, but when you look up those firms, there's no disclosure, there's no, you know, articles that show they've invested in DAG or Constellation Network. So I just I haven't found any first, like, you know, or primary sources that proved they've invested in Constellation. But that's not important, right? That's not really important. VC backing is obviously a good thing, but let's carry on here, right? So where did I leave off? Since Constellation Network is a layer 0 that helps big data firms operate more efficiently, they have been able to collaborate with big firms like the US Air Force, Helium, Space Isaac, Moby, GM, Ford, LCX, QNT, and more. The biggest data generator, the biggest collaborations that stick out to me is the US Air Force, because we have not yet seen a blockchain add value to a military arm. And that to me is probably the most like craziest part, because I know that a lot of people talk about this US Air Force being like the #1 partnership for the you know, Constellation blockchain or Constellation network. And I feel like it's definitely undermined. I feel like people look past it, but truly I feel like this partnership is like the reason why, you know, Constellation is doing so well personally. Okay, obviously there could be other factors, but let's be serious for a second. Okay, this is what kind of got my attention, and I think it's going to get a lot of other people's attention. You know, there was recently a phase 2 contract that was signed by the US Air Force about a year ago, which we're going to cover as well. I don't want to go too much into detail, but you got to remember that the US Air Force handles the most sensitive data in the world, right? You're talking about a military. You're talking about a nation, the United States, that spends, you know, an insane amount on their military, right? We spend more money on our military than the top 5 countries combined. Can you just think about that for 1 second? So we know that we care about security. We care about having the best technology, and seeing that DAG is being used by the US Air Force is a staple. And that solidifies the purpose and the use case that Constellation has. This is not no bullshit partnership. This is real use case showing that this network is actually giving them what they need. And that to me is absolutely massive. And, you know, reading on, the US Air Force is one of the largest data generators in the world. They're utilizing Constellation Network, which proves the blockchain will serve its needs. These partnerships collectively prove that there is a massive gap between big data inefficiencies and Constellation's network. And Constellation Network has been working at a federal level to prove that it can resolve issues. So just giving a little bit more background on, again, what is Constellation and what they're doing. Remember, the blockchain can be used for anything, but as you guys know, a lot of these blockchains have niches that they're kind of working through, right? We know that Solana is used mainly for NFTs. We know that, you know, XRP is mostly used for payments. We know that Bitcoin is a store of value. And what is Constellation? It's going to be probably adopted mostly for big data, right? Today, if you look at data for any of you guys who are gamers, right? I'm going to give you an example. Data is getting more difficult. Even your computers and these new software programs, right? If you have a PS5 or an Xbox, 1 terabyte is like 3 or 4 games sometimes. Sometimes it's even 2 games. So data is more and more difficult to store, and it's more and more, you know, expensive, and it's not going to get better. As we progress into the future, data is going to be more difficult to store. So there is a need for storing, you know, information on a blockchain and making it easier to do so, which is what Constellation is doing with the blockchain. And that is why the US Air Force has gone into a phase 2 contract again, which we will touch a little bit more on towards the end. But basically they went from just research and development all the way to, we are using this blockchain, we are now stakeholders, and we are now running a node, which is massive for the network. And it shows something that I have not seen in the space, which is a military arm working side by side with a blockchain, which is crazy to me. And I think that that's absolutely phenomenal. And again, I don't want to belittle these other partnerships like Helium, that they've created a miner, which is also doing great things with big data. Space Isaac is another great partnership. Mobi, GM4, these are car companies. And you guys can click the links here. You guys can see here that, you know, this was written a year ago. And Mobi members, Constellation Network, and GM and Ford develop DLT data sharing standard for autonomous vehicles. So they're working on things with big companies, and it's not just big data. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, there's going to be multiple use cases for multiple blockchains. But again, I think they found their niche. I think that they have legit partnerships here. And I think that these 4 partnerships, to me, give this blockchain and this network value, in my personal opinion, which is, again, you know, big data being compiled, being more easier, being more decentralized and more secure than your day-to-day, you know, blockchains, or I'm sorry, not blockchains, than your day-to-day, you know, traditional way of storing and securing your data. So this is extremely important, and that's kind of why I went into detail here, because I'm just trying to give you guys a basic understanding. By no means is this a super deep dive, but I just want to give you guys an understanding, because this is due diligence, right? If you want to learn more about DAG, you got to understand these things. And now going into tokenomics, right? This is the part where the video will take a little bit of a turn, right? I've been speaking really good about DAG, but if you guys want to invest something, you got to understand everything. The tokenomics are very, very important. And this is where I feel like the Constellation team is kind of slacking here. So let's jump into here, okay? DAG is a native token for the Constellation network. Currently, the circulating supply is 2.6 billion with a cap supply of 3.55 billion. And the token DAG is used for indexing, HGTP, also for node operators, state channels, and governance. So it has a few use cases there, but most of the time people who are using these nodes are probably going to be either using a state channel, either support a network with a node, or for indexing purposes. And of course, for those who want to govern the network, they can also hold tokens for that, you know, purpose. But again, there's multiple use cases there. And remember, this is feeless network, so they're not looking to, you know, like burn any tokens like that, because everything is going to basically get contributed back to the network. So we'll see how that unfolds. But again, moving on, all these use cases make the network more secure, decentralized, while it remains feeless to transact on. Another important thing to note is that 4 founders burned 288 million tokens of their own to build trust within the community, which I commend them for that, right? They're showing that they're here for the long term. They're showing that they could burn their tokens and not really care about it, because they're here to continue building out the system. And I will say one thing that is missing is a supply schedule, distribution, and allocation of the initial supply. This lack of transparency is a little worrisome for an investor because it takes some trust away. So let's talk about that, okay? Every blockchain, I mean, I'm just gonna quickly go on my site here and just pull up something from another, blockchain. I'm just gonna pull up the Cardano one here. What you can see here is that, whenever there's an ICO, whenever there is, like investors or the team, they talk about how many tokens they have. They talk about what the governance schedule looks like. They show inflation as it's happening, right? And this is basically what I was looking for. And it's kind of upsetting that, there is no schedule that shows, anything, right? Sometimes like an initial supply breakdown is even shared, right? Where we can see how much of the tokens were given to that team. And that's where I kind of again get a little bit worried about that. And I just want to pull up another example if I can. I know that I've written recently about sand, and that shows perfectly what everything you need to know about, you know, like the inflation schedule. And I'm just gonna pull it up right now, and I'm just trying to give you guys an understanding. I probably passed it, but I'm gonna try to look one more time, and if I don't find it, I'm just gonna continue. There it is, sandbox. So guys, right here, this is what you want to look for. Okay, you want to look for something that shows the token allocation in the initial supply and how it's been released. You do not want to invest in stuff. Meanwhile, there's somebody holding 1 million tokens. They're gonna dump it on you, or like, guys, like use you gotta like look at these things and consider them if you decide to buy. Personally, I'm not bashing DAG. I'm not bashing the Constellation team, but guys, they did not show anything. I cannot find any source. I would love to be proven wrong. So if I'm wrong here, which is possible, please share it. But when I try to search DAG tokenomics, no articles popped up. I did see something about a V2 tokenomics article, but that was like not found anymore. So it looks like that web page is gone. But this is what I want to look for. This is the inflation schedule showing token releases and showing if people are staking. This is how it's going to be released. There's something that shows, and the initial supply is also shown as well. So it's a little bit upsetting that, you know, Constellation team has not shown that, and maybe some of us are going to dislike this video because of that. But listen, if you can't handle the truth, then you're probably going to get wrecked eventually, right? Because this is what you need to look for. This is the reason why some of us are watching this video and why I've done due diligence to learn about this, because I do not want to walk into something if I don't understand it, right? And again, I'm not saying that DAG is garbage. I'm not saying Constellation Network is garbage. I know some of us are just going to twist my words, but what I am saying is that there's a lack of transparency here, and that for me gives me a little bit of, you know, like of like a worry like feeling, right? And so again, do what you will with the information, but that is something that we need to be considerate of if you decide to invest in DAG, because you don't know who's holding X amount of tokens, and that is not good. There's no explorer that even shows like, you know, like a rich list of in some sense, right? Like who's holding the most amount of tokens. So yeah, I'm not going to continue on with that, but that's something that you should know if you decide to invest into DAG, right? So moving on, and I'm gonna start talking a little bit better about DAG now, because you know, that is one part of it that I dislike, but there's still other things that I really do like about the network. And we're gonna move on to staking here. So DAG token holders may contribute to the network by staking. Staking rewards vary up to 20% annually and have a minimum requirement of 250k DAG to delegate. Staking rewards have a lockup period of 30 days as pools open and close. According to the Constellation Network, half of the supply is being staked, which you guys can see here, 1.3 billion DAG. There are 300 active nodes, and there are 25,000 wallets per the photo below. So this is from the website. You guys can go and, you know, check it out for yourself. And I think that's pretty good. I think overall, that, like, I see good signs overall, but there's still some things like I just mentioned, but not to keep going there. And another thing that is worth noting is how many projects are built in the ecosystem, which may be found here. So there's basically like an ecosystem, which you can see is about 15 projects that are built on the, you know, this ecosystem. So I don't know if you guys want to take a look at that. It is fairly low, but again, to be fair, you know, that's not their primary use case, although I'm sure that they'll invite people to build on the DAG ecosystem, because hey, listen, if it's feeless and you have a real use case, then hey, why not? And there's also a lot of grants on other blockchains, so that's probably why a lot of people are not building on DAG. But I do think as DAG continues to progress and there's a lot of value drawn from the actual network, then I definitely see a reason why more and more people would probably you know, use the network. And then moving on, currently there's only a handful of projects built on Casper, but it's expected to grow over time. And now I want to talk about what is a layer 0, because as you guys know, Constellation is a layer 0, but it is not a new concept, because blockchains like Polkadot and Cardano have already claimed to be layer 0s. In the graphic below, you will see how layer 0s act as a dirt, providing an infrastructure foundation for others to build on. Layer 0s may also act as a cross-chain communicator from different networks built on top of it. For example, if two layer 1 networks built on top of the Constellation network, then they can talk to each other. This opens up a world of opportunities for things like decentralized applications, a decentralized network, enhanced cross-chain industry, which gives us data transparency, smart contracts, so much more. And then there's obviously more and more things that are being discovered, because you guys also have to remember that we're still so early in the space and there's still so many things that are happening. But as you can see, this kind of makes it easier. DAG is at the bottom layer here. They're providing the dirt, the ground. And then other networks like, Ethereum and Solana are building on top of that layer 0, which then of course, give more and more opportunities for growth, of course. And so I'm giving an example here again. If DAG was the layer 0 for Solana and Ethereum and Solana would be able to communicate with each other, and all the dApps would be interoperable, which is a really cool aspect of using the DAG network to build on. So, that is something that is, of course, really cool. And I would love to see more and more interoperable blockchains. I'm literally tongue twisting there. Because that will open up the world of DeFi, which is something that I think is going to be really big in the next cycle. But, something that if you guys didn't know, layer 0s are here to stay. And I think DAG being a layer 0 is really cool because, it shows that they're definitely trying to build out this big data solution. And they're inviting people to, of course, build on there, of course. And, currently the ecosystem is small, but I only see it continuously growing as the use case grows. And now moving on to my favorite part here, technical analysis. DAG has had a sensational run, had a run from 0.004 all the way to 46 cents, yielding over 100x returns. Ever since DAG is at all-time highs, we have seen the price fall towards a high time frame demand zone, green box, which should act as support. Price is likely to consolidate near or in the green box before making a move. The way this correction subdivides will give hints on how the next move plays out. Bottom structures typically take a long time to form and reverse when the bears are exhausted, so it's best to stay patient for a clear structure. However, we may not hit the green box, so prepare for any scenario. If you like DAG, dollar cost averaging right now may be a good idea, as it's been in a downward channel for over a year and the RSI is gaining momentum on the weekly time frame. That is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy. If you wish to buy, then just know that that has been your decision purely. And when we look at this chart right now, even, you guys can take a look. DAG is pretty much hanging out. And I wish I can show you guys my my post here. I had a post here that's saying DAG was gonna run up off this lows, because to me, this has a perfect retrace. And what I think is gonna happen is either this is some type of 1-2 and then we're gonna start getting a move out, right? That's possible. Or we're probably gonna have another move which kind of gives us a fake out and then goes lower, right? But right now my odds are stacked to the upside for the short term. Okay, very, very clear. I want to be very, very clear. It looks like to me we're probably gonna get a move to the upside for the short term, but I'm not banking on it, and I want to make that very clear for you guys. Because while we can get, of course, a drop, you want to be considerate of the fact that yes, it can go lower, but right now, because of the RSI on the daily time frame, it looks like it can have a run to the upside here, taking us to the top of this channel. Who knows, even to 9 cents. That's very, very possible. But overall, this has been in a gorgeous channel, pretty much downtrending in it very beautifully. We have a slight deviation here, but this channel still remains intact, coming up to the highs here, and eventually this channel is going to get broken because it can't stay here forever. So that is basically something that I'm pretty much excited to watch to see how it plays out. And DAG is something that I'm definitely holding, and we're going to watch very, very closely. Dollar cost averaging will be the best strategy. That is not financial advice, but again, I don't know why I had to say that in this video. You can literally see it all over the screen. And also, if you decide to buy and you blame someone else for your decisions, you're just not going to make it. That's the pure truth. But moving on, overall, I really do like this chart. And again, we're going to watch very, very closely to see how this plays out. But I think it's pretty straightforward, right? When something pretty much retraces about 90%, I mean, let's be serious. We got a 89% retrace from the top to the bottom, right? How much lower can we go? Yes, I'm sure we can revisit this green box, but will you take that chance? Are you comfortable knowing that if we don't come back down here, what is your strategy? So again, I'm not telling you to go all in. That is, crazy. I'm not telling you to not consider buying, and I'm also not telling you to sell what you have. But what I am telling you is that we've definitely been down 90% from all-time highs, which is definitely nice to see now. It is a decent area to DCA if you wish, and I believe that sometime soon this channel is going to break. whether it is to the upside or maybe it does go down, and maybe this channel does continue one more time to the lows here. But I personally don't believe it because of the whole market and where we're at. And if you guys are interested, I don't want to make this video too much long. We're already running on 25 minutes. If you guys are here still, you guys are real ones, please like and sub if you haven't already, so I can keep you guys updated on DAG if something changes. But I made a video on Sunday. You guys can go back 6 days ago, and you'll see that I spoke about a bunch of altcoins and the state of the altcoin market. So go ahead if you're interested, check that out. And I'm kind of looking at other alts that I can enter, and I really do like DAG. So moving on to the final part here, the conclusion. Basically, without a doubt, I believe Constellation Network is doing amazing things by making big data easier and more secure to handle. The U.S. Air Force is one example that is thriving as they are utilizing the technology built by the Constellation team. The U.S. Air Force signed a Phase 2 contract in September with Constellation that started from just researching and exploring a use case to utilizing the chain. The U.S. Air Force did their due diligence and found that this network will secure sensitive data, protect data, and ensure national security. I don't want to go on a rant with this one partnership, but this is the main reason why I've become bullish on Constellation, because it's extremely different and it is making strides tackling big data. As the network keeps growing, the blockchain becomes more centralized due to its horizontal scaling nature. I have also shared other companies' protocols in the funding and collaboration section that are in this research phase that may inch closer to actual adoption. So, remember, the U.S. Air Force started as research based, right? They just wanted to test it out to see if they can actually do something with the blockchain. And those other partners that we saw, like Moby, there's no real project yet, but guess what? They're working on something. And so again, maybe those other partners are in that research phase and that may sooner or later bring actual adoption to the blockchain. So we'll see closely. And again, it is important to note that while I am bullish on Constellation Network, it doesn't mean it's directly correlated to the value of DAG. Thank you guys again for making it to the end. Please like and sub if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this, please leave a comment if something was wrong, because again, I could be wrong about one thing. I could have made a mistake. So please leave a comment if you found something about tokenomics, because I would love to see it. And as always, haro haro haro, peace.